Hello everyone, this is Gage from Gundorian Smith, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys another Third Age Reforged online multiplayer battle replay. And this one is a very cool 3 versus 3 good versus evil battle, and it is a very understandable alliance for the good team. We've got the Men of Dale, one army of the Men of Dale, and 2 armies of the Dwarves of Erebor, and they are in fact fighting for the Iron Hills. So it looks like the Dwarves of Erebor have set out to help out Dane, their cousin, in the Iron Hills, and they're going to be being backed up by the Men of Dale. So without any further ado, we can go ahead into the army compositions, beginning with my own. First of all, I should mention that there are actually 2, I think, Iron Hills maps in the game currently. One of them is in the field battle sections, but it can actually be used as a siege battle. And this one that we're playing on today is actually in the mountains category, and they're both very good maps. I actually hadn't played on this one before, so I had no idea what it was like. So, but it actually turned out very good, or very fun. It's definitely a fun map to play, and I definitely would recommend it if you guys would like to do so. So without any further ado, we can go ahead into the army compositions, beginning with my own. So I am playing as, of course, the Men of Dale. I've got 2 units of the Bardian Marksmen, both with armor upgrades. I've got 1 unit here of the Dalian Cavalry. In addition to them, I think I have 3 units of Laketown Pikemen, as well as 2 units of Barding Herd. Right over there. I've also got actually 3 units of the Earls of Esgaroth. Now these guys are kind of like the above average sword and shield infantry that Laketown can bring, which is actually a pretty cool addition. They have like 9 attack and like mid-20s in terms of defense. You can see I've also got 1 of the Laketown River Patrol right here, which is a Javelin unit, 1 unit of the Dalian Marksmen, and then up here I've got the rest of my army, which is 2 units of Athala Rangers, who are of course, I should say, body piercing rangers. So in this type of choke point battle, they're going to do very, very well. I had them up here because I was hoping that my enemy would deploy down here in this nice open field, which would allow my rangers to fire all the way down there straight into the front line of the fight. But anyway, I've also got 1 unit of ballista. I've got my other unit of pikemen up here, as well as my last unit of Earls of Esgaroth. So that pretty much does it for my army composition, except for I think I have 1 more unit. Yes, way down here I have where are they? Somewhere around here I have some Gyrians Paladins, but I have no idea where they are. They're probably mixed in with the pikes, maybe? But yes, anyway, I do have 1 unit of the Gyrians Paladins. Oh, you can see them actually running away right here. They are, of course, a very elite AP shock infantry unit with multiple hit points, and they actually inspire units around them, I believe, so they will help my lower tier units like the pikemen to stay in the fight for longer. So we can now go over to the first of the 2 Dwarven armies. The first is being commanded by Belisar, who is obviously playing with the Dwarves of Erebor. He's got 4 units of the Ironfoot Halberds, 3 of them are right here. He's got 1 of the Highborns of Erebor, which is where his general is just an elite sword and shield infantry unit. He's got 2 units of Ironfoot Spears, I believe maybe 2 or 3 units of Ironfoot Crossbows, 1 Dwarven Catapult actually, so that's always going to be good, especially in this kind of a map. He's got like 4 units of the Ironfoot Warriors, 1 unit of the Miners, and down here you can see some more of his forces, like some more Ironfoot Warriors, some more Ironfoot Warriors, and his last 2 units of Ironfoot Crossbowmen, as well as his 2nd unit of Spears and his other Ironfoot Warriors. So it looks like he might actually have all 6 units of Ironfoot Warriors. Anyway, we can now go over here to the final Dwarven player. Oh, he actually has a couple units down here to support his ally, which is always nice, because because of how Arnorian Guard deployed and how his enemies deployed, he's actually going to be getting double teamed. So that's going to be very difficult for him to try to stop. Anyway, so yes, Arnorian Guard is playing the last Dwarven army. He's got 1 unit of the Axe Guard of Erebor. I think he's got like 4 units of the Ironfoot Warriors. And these guys are very cool because they actually do have the armor upgrade, which gives them the Ironfoot Guard model of 0.91, which is something that I was very excited about because the Ironfoot Warriors look pretty good and everything, but I really like the look of the Ironfoot Guard of 0.91, so I am happy to see that making a comeback here in 0.95. So you can see I think all of his units of Ironfoot Warriors do have armor upgrades. He's also got a couple units of Ironfoot Axe Throwers in his front line. He's got 3 units of Ironfoot Halberds, 3 units of Erebor Legionaries, who are just slightly better than the Ironfoot Warriors. You can see his other unit of Ironfoot Warriors here with his general, surprisingly. Down here he's got a couple hidden units, like some more Erebor Legionaries, some Ironfoot Crossbows, some Axe Guard of Erebor, some more Ironfoot Warriors, and his 3rd and final unit of Erebor Legionaries. So that is going to do it for the good team. So we can now go over here to the first of the evil teams, which is being commanded by Savage Paradox, who is playing as Isengard. He's got 3 units of Uruk-hai Raiders, 3 or 4 units of Uruk-hai Infantry backing up 3 units of Uruk-hai Pikemen, 1 unit of Warg Riders, 1 unit of Trolls of the White Hand, 2 units of Dunlending Clansmen, 2 units of Dunlending Veterans, 1 unit of Uruk-hai Archers, 2 units of Uruk-hai Crossbows, and I believe that pretty much does it for his army. I don't actually... Oh, does he have... He actually has 3 maybe units? No, just 2. Or 3. Yeah, that looks like 3 units actually. But yeah, I don't actually think he brought any, like, really high tier units, with the exception of maybe of the trolls. Probably just because he didn't have enough money, because the Urkai infantry are actually very expensive, but they are much better than a lot of other factions' standard sword and shield infantry. They're actually pretty similar in a lot of ways to the Earls of Esgaroth, except they may have slightly lower defensive values. But anyway, that is going to do it for his army. I don't actually know which unit is I don't actually know which unit his general is in. Anyway, we can now go over here to Gundabad, who's been commanded by Louis Hayes at 1997. He's got 3 units of Orc Marauders, 3 units of Witch-Armed Scourge Raiders, 3 units of Guardians of Karn-Dûm. He's actually got a lot of low-tier archers, surprisingly enough, for Gundabad. I mean, they can't really ever field very many good archers, but he's going to compensate for that by bringing a lot of low-tier ones. He's got like 3 units, it looks like, maybe, of Goblin Trackers, as well as a couple units of Snaga Archers. So just a lot of arrows going down, because each unit of these Snaga Archers does fire like 250 arrows per volley. So that is going to do a lot of damage, especially to the maybe like lower armored units like the Dwarven Miners and such, and especially if it's going to the backs of unshielded units and stuff like that, will do a lot of damage. His general is actually right over here in this unit of Goblin Trackers, by the way. You can see some more Orc Marauders here, some Orc Fellers. I think he's got 2 or 3 units of Orc Fellers. He's got 1 unit of Trolls of Angmar and 1 unit of the Trolls of Gundabad, and I'm pretty sure that just about does it for his army as well. So surprisingly, not having any elites either. So some very interesting armies from these 2 attackers anyway. You can see his 3rd unit of Gundabad Guard there, or Guardians of Karn-Dûm, sorry. Anyway, we can now go here to the final evil army, and I was actually deployed most of my army out here in this field because I was wanting to have a nice big like kind of field battle and then move into the mountains. But as you can see, Arcturus has actually deployed all of his army in these mountains, so I am going to have to very quickly retreat my whole army back up here to support this choke point where my Lake Town Pikemen and Earls of Esgaroth are currently getting shot by body-piercing rangers, so that is going to do a lot of damage. But anyway, Arcturus is playing as Rudauer. He's got 3 units of Rudauer Swordsmen, 2 units of Herenadine Rangers, who are of course a body-piercing ranger unit, and they are going to do a huge amount of damage to my Pikemen and Earls of Esgaroth right there because of their body-piercing arrows. In addition to this, he's got 3 units, I believe, of Dunmen Pikemen, 2 units of Ettenmoor's Troll Hunters, a couple units of Dunmen Spearmen. You can see his other units of Rudauer Swordsmen here, and the rest of his Pikemen. He's also got 1 unit of the Forodrim Javelins hidden around here because they are, of course, a unit that can't hide anywhere. And then back here, surprisingly enough, he does have like 3 or 4 units of cavalry. I think like 3 or maybe 2 or 3 units of Dunman Scouts, and then 1 unit of Herenadine Nobles, which is where his general is, which is of course a knight unit, but it actually is very much quicker than a lot of other knight units. It's kind of similar to the Black Serpent Bodyguard in many ways. However, unlike the Black Serpent Bodyguard, the Herenadine Nobles actually do pull out AP maces once they are in kind of like close combat. But anyway, so this was very surprising to me that he brought so much cavalry, especially because he did not deploy actually down in the open field where it could have been utilized better. So the cavalry is going to have a difficult time here in the mountains. But anyway, without any further ado, we can go ahead and begin the battle. I am going to start off in slow motion because, well, not this slow, but pretty slow, just because this started off pretty quick. You can see his Herenadine Nobles just absolutely peppering down my poor front line here. My ballista is also up here going to be taking fire. Unfortunately, oh sorry, I just want to move this up a little bit. Unfortunately for my ballista, it's not going to be able to get pretty much any shots off, just because I was hoping that he would be out in the field and he was not. So this ballista really isn't going to do very much for me here. You can see Arcturus pushing forward immediately with his units. I am also going to be I also am going to begin opening fire upon these Rudauer Swordsmen with my own body-piercing rangers, who are going to do a lot of damage to these Rudauer Swordsmen here. Also to the Pikemen and to the Ettenmoor's Troll Hunters, actually. You see that's actually getting a little bit foggy here, so it's going to be a pretty nice foggy battle in the mountains, in the Iron Hills. But, again, if I had known that he was going to be deploying up here, I would have actually put forward my more sturdy archers, like the Bardian Marksman or the Dalian Marksman, just because my Athala Rangers are going to get targeted by these Herenadine Rangers, and my Athala Rangers are going to get absolutely dropped because I was more focusing on targeting things like the Pikemen and the Swordsmen, as well as the Trolls, or Troll Hunters, I should say. Ooh, yeah, these Pikemen are going to go down very quickly to those body-piercing arrows. But, for now, we can... Oh, actually, the infantry fight has begun. My Earls of Esgaroth actually will do very well against the Rudauer Swordsmen here. But again, you can see the Herenadine Rangers firing down into my own archers right now, yes. And being very lightly very lightly armored, I should say. These Athala Rangers are going to take horrendous casualties, so I actually will be forced to retreat them pretty shortly here, and then just hope to my higher tier archers, well, more defensive archers, to be able to try to skirmish down those Herendine Rangers. However, we can now go back over here, well, we can go over here, sorry, not back over here, to see what is going on between the Dwarves and the Gundabad and Isengard forces. Looks like Isengard is going to be taking the offensive here, and Belisar is actually sending over some reinforcements to help him out, which is very nice, because Savage Paradox and Louis Hayes 1997 are definitely outnumbering our Northern Guard here. Actually, looks like, yeah, because our Northern Guard didn't have any really skirmishers except for like maybe 1 or 2 units of Ironfoot crossbows. You can see his front line really suffering to those Uruk-hai archers and Uruk-hai crossbowmen. He definitely should try to put his Ironfoot axe throwers in loose formation, or just keep them hiding like that, because the Ironfoot axe throwers are going to be very key at taking out the higher armored targets like the Uruk-hai pikemen and Uruk-hai infantry that he really doesn't have the means to deal with otherwise. Yes, so I'm still moving forward with the rest of my army. You can see that down there my Barding herd are actually walking up this mountain, very exposed to those Herendine Rangers. Ballista crew down to 19 now. However, my front line is holding very well. However, there are some Etmore's Troll Hunters coming up here to try to target some units, probably like those Ironfoot Spears. But you can see a huge amount of my Othello Rangers died right there. I think I only have, what? I think they're hidden... No, they're actually hidden way back here. I've only got 89 in that unit and only 54 in the other. However, you can see that the rest of my army is moving forward. I don't want to commit my Gurians Paladins right away because I know they're going to be very important late game. And you can see elsewhere I'm just moving forward the rest of my army. However, because I did retreat actually with my Othello Rangers, you can see that these Barding herd being very exposed. I did not notice that they weren't going around the long way, but they're actually going the short way, are now going to be getting targeted by the Herendine Rangers, who are going to do a huge amount of damage to these halberds that are in very tight formation. Etmer's Troll Hunters look like they're going to try to get a volley off on maybe these spears or these Ironfoot Warriors, so Belisar being a real good teammate right here, supporting both Northern Guard and myself. Oof, but yeah, it's going to be a very bloody fight, I can tell you that. So I will actually have to commit some more units here pretty shortly. I'm actually going to commit my Lake Time River Patrol right away because I want to try to take out those Etmore's Troll Hunters. But down here it looks like the infantry fight might be just about started. No, actually it's still just a prolonged skirmish fight. Ooh, and you can see the full force of Gundabad now backing up Isengard. So, oh wait, they actually have Arcturus's cavalry support as well, so he's kind of getting almost triple teamed here. But with so much of the enemy forces here, I really do think that they should just rush pretty much right away, because they will definitely be able to just outnumber and surround the Dwarves. You can see Snaga Archer is actually going to give some support to the Uruk-hai. That unit of Uruk-hai crossbows actually did get shot down pretty quickly. Ironfoot crossbows surprisingly not in loose formation, but still they should do okay. No, nevertheless, as long as they don't get targeted by the crossbows, that is. But still, at least a pretty somewhat slow approach from the evil armies, at least so far. Oof, yeah, my Barding herd, oh, look at that. The body-piercing arrows just shooting down so many of my halberds. That was a very bad mistake by me right there. So this huge blob of Rangers and Troll Hunters, ooh, is actually getting targeted down by, not my Othello Rangers, but by my Dalian Marksmen, who, while they're not BP, they still will do very good, because pretty much all of the Root Hour roster is very heavily numbered, except for a few units like the Etmore's Troll Hunters, so they should do quite well. But anyway, over here you can see that the Dwarven infantry is actually pushing through these Root Hour forces, so Arcturus, unless he pushes forward some more units, is going to find himself struggling here. Also, something I should mention that I think I missed, yes, Arcturus actually has 2 units of Black Wolves, who have like 0 armor or something, or very little armor, but they do have a couple hit points to at least protect somewhat from arrows, and they are AP, so they're going to do very good against both the Dwarven infantry and my own infantry, so he is going to try to commit them. Herendine Rangers still at 87, and my Lake Town River Patrol are constantly firing. I think they're trying to target these Etmore's Troll Hunters. At least that was my plan. You can actually see there's some Ironfoot crossbowmen here from Belisar as well, just giving me some more support, which is very friendly. Bringing forward another unit of my Dalian... No. I'm bringing forward a unit of my Bardian marksmen over here on this hill to try to get to a little bit better of a firing position to fire down here. Obviously, it would be better to put my Othello Rangers here, but because the Heredine Rangers are still firing, I do not want to actually risk that quite yet. Earls of Esgaroth still fighting hard, but with the advance of a lot of reinforcements from Ugar, it's going to turn into a pretty nasty fight for them anyways. I think I'm actually... My one unit of Dalian Cavalry is around here. You can see them. I was trying to sneak them behind the Dunmen Pikemen here, and then try to maybe get a charge off on the Swordsmen. But unfortunately, due to a little bit of pathfinding problems, they kind of just went straight into the Pikemen. So you'll see that happen pretty shortly here. However, with the increase of lag, I think that does in fact mean that the fight is getting closer to beginning. Yes, you can see some Orc Fellers actually charging straight into the front line of Arnorian Guard, as well as the constant skirmish fire. Ironfoot Axe Throwers right here trying to get a volley off into the huge hordes of Gundabad and Isengard that are advancing, but they might not be able to get one off unless they're very careful. Whoop. No, it looks like they might not get one off in time. Yep, they are going to get stuck in melee. So this is going to be a very, very heinous fight here, with it's just going to be a really grindy fight between the very outnumbered dwarves and the orcs of Gundabad and Uruk-hai of Isengard. Orc Fellers actually getting butchered right now by the Ironfoot Halberds. Really, what the two evil armies here are going to have to try to do is flank around this side, because on the other side, Arnorian Guard has the protection of the mountain. So really what they're going to have to try to do is flank around this whole other side here. You can see some trolls actually being committed. And over here, it actually looks like the mountain is not going to be able to give too much protection to Arnorian Guard, because both Isengard and Gundabad are going to be sending units forward around this way, possibly, to try to outflank the dwarves here. So Belisar is going to have to try to plug up this hole here if he does not want to let Arnorian Guard get surrounded. But we can go over here now for a second. As you can see, the fight is just going insane. I was trying to send forward another unit of Laketown Pikemen here. As you can see, my lines are getting very, very thin. Unfortunately for this pike unit, though, they're already down to 88 before they even got into the fight, and that was due to the Heredine Rangers, who are still doing a huge amount of damage to my forces. My Laketown River Patrol just constantly firing their javelins into this blob here. I've also got my Bardian Marksmen and Dalian Marksmen all firing into this blob as well. Unfortunately, because of the hill, I wasn't really able to fire back at these Heredine Rangers, which is just going to allow them to pretty much have free reign of this kind of skirmish fight, at least for the moment. Which is surprising, because I do have like 5 units of archers and he only has 2, but that is because his archers do have the high ground. Yeah, my Othello Rangers are really taking a beating. This one down to 29, this one down to 54. However, because of this, they are going to be able to fire for a lot longer, just because there's not as many men in the unit. I'm trying to get them into a little bit of a better position to fire straight into this huge, huge blob, and that is something I sorely, sorely need, because you can see that Rudar is really starting to push their way through here. However, it actually, upon looking closer, it actually looks like they might not be pushing forward as much as I had thought. And that's mainly just down to the fact that my archers and the javelins are really supporting them here. Like 10 pikemen actually shaking here. If there's a rout, then that's going to be very bad. I'm going to go ahead and commit my Lake 10 River Patrol, just because they are out of ammo. Oof, yeah, the skirmish fight between myself and Arcturus really proving to be deadly here. There's some Ironfoot crossbows still giving me support, which is always nice. Oh, lag. Or dropping frame rate anyway. So we can go down here. Okay. Yeah, so Belisar looks like, well, he was able to stop that, the advance of those troops here, but oh, look at this blob. If only those Ironfoot Axe Throwers of Arnorian Guard had not been taken out, he would just be having the best day right now in this huge blobber here. Or if even the Dwarves had access to a Ranger unit, oh boy, that would rack up a ton of kills, because just look at this infantry fight. However, oh, yeah, the Dwarves are really struggling just because of how low their numbers are. You can see right here, especially these Erebor legionaries actually shaken. Oh yeah, they're just getting absolutely pushed through. You can see the Iron Foot crossbows are trying to fire. They're getting stopped by these trolls. And elsewhere, our Northern Guard is just getting completely surrounded by some Dunlending veterans, some Orc fellows, and some War Guards. Excuse me. Apologies for that. Oh, yep. Going to be a pretty good charge here from the Dunlending veterans. Straight into the back of these Ironfoot warriors, and yes, they're actually going to shake and maybe even rout. Something that I did notice about the Dwarves of Erebor is that they actually have pretty low morale, which is somewhat surprising, but again, it does help them because in other areas they are, of course, very good, especially in battles like this, where things are really, really choke pointy. Over on this flank, though, the Dwarves seem to be doing okay. However, just because of the fact that they are getting outflanked on the other side, things are probably going to turn around very, very shortly here. In terms of percentage, it is definitely in favor of the evil armies. Over here, I again had to retreat my Othello Rangers because they again were getting shot to death. This unit's down to 21, the other one's down to 42. However, my Bardian Marksmen are taking up the position that the Othello Rangers were in, and while they're not BP, they still were able to do a huge amount of damage to those blobbed up forces. And over here, you can see both myself and Arcturus have suffered horrendous casualties here in this blob fight. Looks like some of my Lake Town pikemen are actually thinking about routing. Herendine Rangers, though, still firing. This unit, man, all Rangers are super, super good. And in choke points like this, and on hills where they can't really get skirmished down, they're just going to rack up the kills. Ooh, yeah, you can see my own archers really targeting these pikemen and stuff. It looks like my Delian cavalry, yeah. So they were, you know, up here or whatever, but because of the pathfinding, they just kind of ran into the pikes instead of going around them. But that's okay. Blackwold's going to be pushing forward, looks like, maybe. His Forager Javelins actually have not come out anywhere as well. But finally, this is what I was waiting for. This unit of Herendine Rangers is actually out of ammo now. And the other one, and that means that the other one is going to be getting pretty close to being out of ammo, which will allow my very depleted Rangers to take a position on this hill and do a huge amount of damage. But oh, look at the bodies here. You can see all the pikes laying on the ground. You can see the red of my first unit of Earls of Esgaroth. Ooh. And there goes the Dwarven General, actually. So far, a really close fight. Oh! Pretty big rout right here, so I'm actually going to have to try to commit my second unit of Earls of Esgaroth here to shore up my line, but it's going to be very, very close, because you can see the rear units pushing through. But anyway, we'll go over here now. Ooh. The Dwarves, just like that, after being surrounded, a ton of their units are routing, especially because their general has just been defeated. Oh, going to be very, very bad. Oh, just look how many units there are. This is what happens when you get double teamed. Oh man, there's so many orcs and Uruk-hai still remaining, including a ton of low-tier archers. Percentage heavily, heavily in favor of the evil armies. Trolls still running around. Looks like, however, most of the Uruk-hai trolls have been taken out. There's only a couple left. However, there are still quite a decent amount of Gundabad trolls. Belisar racking up the kills here for his Ironfoot crossbows by firing into these huge blobs. Still going to do a lot of damage, but definitely not as much as maybe a ranger. My Delian marksmen are now out of ammo, so I'm going to commit them to the fight. They actually have a shield and axe, which makes them pretty good in a melee fight. Because of the axe, they have slightly higher attack than most standard sword and shield infantry units, and they actually also use the shield. Not only actually fighting, but they also use it when they're actually using their bows. But anyway, here you can see a lot of my forces routing the Rudauer swordsmen, trying to press the advantage here. My ballista really has done nothing and will do nothing. So yeah, these Rudauer swordsmen trying to kind of flank around. However, he really needs to commit some more forces here because he does not have probably enough men to really sustain this break in my lines. Because that will actually allow me to send forward some more reinforcements. Right here, oh, the body piercing, man, the body piercing. Flattening this unit of Bardian marksmen here. It's been trying to return fire, but really not doing it very effectively. This unit was at like 140, now it's already down to 56 because of those body-piercing rangers. Where are my rangers? They should be around here somewhere. maybe not firing quite yet because the Heredine Rangers are still firing, but they will be able to fire pretty shortly. Yes, here they're still hiding. But once the Heredine Rangers are no longer firing, like once they're out of ammo, my Othello Rangers will have a field day because the Rudar player will have no skirmishing forces to try to stop me. And of course, because this is such a huge blob, my Rangers are just going to rack up the kills, just like these Heredine Rangers who have just run out of ammo. Looks like yes. You can see that Arcturus is going to be pushing forward some more troops. Looks like some Rudar swordsmen and maybe another unit of troll hunters. Dwarves of Erebor in here holding the line, doing a very good job of it, as well as my Daily Marksman. Yeah, so I actually am going to commit my Girian's Paladins, as well as my last unit of Earls of Erebor. And the Girian's Paladins are incredibly strong, especially in choke points like this, because something to note about .95 is, unlike previous patches where you could just kind of throw an elite unit anywhere and it could kill like 3 or 4 mid-tier units, that is not the case anymore. Now you have to support your elites very heavily unless you want them to just get surrounded and done pretty quickly. So I am going to be supporting them with, of course, these Earls of Erebor and the Marksmen. You can actually not really see the Paladins that well because they have very similar armor to the Earls of Erebor. However, their offensive capabilities are much greater. So right here in this choke point, my Girian's Paladins and my Earls of Erebor will definitely excel. I'm actually going to. I was thinking about committing another unit of Barding Herd, but I thought better of it. Yeah, I'm actually now down to only half of my men remaining. I've still got my 2 units of Barding Herd, as well as maybe 1 more unit of Pikemen somewhere around here, as well as a decent amount of archers, but I'm really getting pretty low on numbers, honestly, which is not good, considering the fact that we're being so beaten in terms of the percentage, and especially because the last of our Northern Guards forces are being swept away. You can actually see these Dunlending clansmen pursuing these Ironfoot crossbows of Belisar, and because the dwarves are so slow, they actually are going to get caught right here. But the Dunlending clansmen won't be able to do a huge amount of damage to the crossbowmen, even though they might get caught. Really, if they want to take out the crossbows, they'll have to send something else forward. But it looks like the crossbows will at least escape with most of the unit because there are some Ironfoot spears here to stop the clansmen's advance, as well as some Ironfoot warriors moving down as well. So we can take a look now at the remaining forces of Isengard and Gundabad. Gundabad still has a lot of trolls. Isengard has a pretty decent amount of pikemen, it actually looks like, and infantry. So, oh yeah, poor Arnoyan Guard, he was just kind of left out just because of the fact that we were deployed so far away from him, and he just kind of got double teamed. But he did make the enemy pay quite heavily in return. Yes, okay, so you can see now that my Rangers are back in the fight, both units of them, and although they are heavily depleted, even 42 Othello Rangers will pretty much do the work of maybe a healthy unit of Bardian Marksmen, especially in choke points, just because of the fact they are body piercing. I'm going to commit another unit here of Barding Herd because my center is looking a little bit thin. And it looks like Rudar Arcturus is actually going to try to maybe flank around, possibly, with what remains of his forces. I think he's still got maybe 1 or 2 units of Black Wolves, some pikemen, and some swordsmen left over, as well as some Edmore's Troll Hunters and some Forager and Javelins. But yeah, so gonna be very interesting. Yeah, we're actually being beaten by 20% in the balance of power, so not really looking too good for us. Durian's Paladin still at 52, just doing an excellent job of taking out these Rudar forces here. And being backed up by the Earls of Erebor, they won't really take too many losses in return either. I actually am a really big fan of Dale. I think they're a really fun faction to play. I think they're a pretty well balanced faction all around, honestly. I think the main thing that they don't have maybe would be standard armor piercing units, because they do have like units like the Barding Herd and the Lumbermen that are OP. However, the Lumbermen are very low tier, and the Barding Herd are of course halberds, so They are kind of low in terms of AP, but everything else, they are very, very balanced. They've got some melee cav. It is very expensive, but they do have 2 units of melee cav. They've got some nice lancer cav, and they've got incredible, incredible archers. And their infantry is good enough. Ooh, over here you can see the cavalry of Arcturus coming down, charging straight into these Ironfoot warriors. Not going to do a ton of damage, but it still will do a little bit. So he's actually going to maybe try to attack the dwarves here. Not really the wisest move, just because he has lost so many units already. It'd probably be best just to maybe try to harass the dwarves with his cavalry and definitely with his javelins. You can see I actually brought my unit of Othello Rangers over here to try to support my ally. So as soon as the pikes come in range, or the swordsmen, I will begin opening fire. Oh, but yeah, the Edmore's Troll Hunters, if they're allowed to fire here, they're going to do a ton of damage to those Ironfoot halberds. Dunmen Scouts, actually think about routing. That is because they are a very low tier cavalry unit with pretty poor morale. Oh, it looks like he's going to try to get a volley off. Ooh, right into the halberds and Ironfoot warriors. And yes, he's going to be able to get that volley off and do a huge amount of damage to those dwarven units. You can just see the numbers dropping. Ooh, that is very unfortunate. I must have lost micro on these units here because I definitely should have been firing at these swordsmen. But you can see that now that I've beaten most of Arcturus' forces on this side, I am going to be pulling back with a lot of my forces. Oh, just the massacre there. So all of these units here, I am actually going to pull back into this main kind of defensive area with the rest of the dwarves of Belisar. And that is because of the fact that both Gundabad and Isengard are actually trying to flank around. You can see the wargs actually going to be pursuing some routing dwarven units. And they're going to actually be able to catch up maybe with my Barding Herd if I'm not careful. So I actually am going to be forced to kind of camp up here with the rest of my units. And you can see if I'm not careful, I actually will lose some of these units back here if the wargs are able to get in and charge. So I'm going to try to reform a line here with my Barding Herd just to ward off the wargs, at least for a little bit of time. Long enough for my main infantry force to retreat. And this is going to be a very difficult position to attack for the evil armies, because while I don't have a ton of ammo left, I think the only archers that have ammo left are my rangers, who are going to be taking up position here on this hill. It's still going to be hard for them to attack, just because there are only 2 ways that they can attack. However, they do definitely have the numbers to do it. However, they don't really have the I don't know if they have the pushing power to do it, because something you might have noticed is that Gundabad did not bring any Black Watch Legion. So it's going to prove pretty difficult for them, I think, to be able to attack. You can see that Belisar is actually trying to hold the line down here, so I was thinking about maybe opening fire at this clansmen, but then I realized they are just clansmen, and it would definitely be wiser to save the ammo for some different units, like maybe these Dunman pikemen here. But yes, my Othello Rangers, even though they are still at only 21 men and 42 men, they're going to do a huge amount of damage just because body-piercing Rangers are insanely good. Black Wolves gonna maybe try to flank around some halberds, or maybe go after these Ironfoot warriors here. Either way, they will do a very good job of it, just because they are AP. Ooh, looking slightly closer. Looks like it looks like it's 19% now instead of 20%. Wargs, kind of, yeah. Looks like the wargs are gonna try to push. I was gonna say maybe push around my Barding Herd, but they might actually be going straight for my Barding Herd, which is not going to be very good for them if they decide to do that, because the Barding Herd are of course halberds with a very good bonus to cavalry, or against cavalry. But yes, I was able to kind of reform my lines here. I'm going to begin holding this portion of the choke point here with 1 unit of pikemen, being backed up by some other units like some earls and maybe some Durians paladins as well. That looks like my Barding Herd and all the rest of my units will be able to fully retreat. See the trolls back there as well. And a lot of Gundabad. I think mostly... Actually, take it back. I was going to say I thought mostly Gundabad attacked from behind, but I could be wrong about that. But maybe not. You can see more units back there. So right now, it looks like the evil forces are very, very spread out. And unfortunately, it seems like they really did forget about a pretty big portion of their maybe skirmishers, because I think there's a lot of stalkers and stuff hidden around here, or Snaga archers. There's actually a decent amount of infantry here as well, but it's okay because they do have time. They have a lot of time because being so outnumbered, we're not going to be able to, or we're not going to be pushing forward anytime soon. Ooh, the Dwarven Catapult has not fired at all, targeting these Edmore's Troll Hunters. Right here, there's also the Forodrim Javelins here, who are a very, very deadly Javelin unit. However, they do have very low armor, which is why I've brought over my Othello Rangers, who are going to begin targeting the Forodrim Javelins as well as the Dunman Pikemen and Black Wolves. Like Town River Patrol, I'm trying to just maybe stop these Forodrim Javelins just from firing, at least for a little bit, but being low in number and going up against a pretty good unit, they are probably going to rout even if they get in melee, but it looks like the Forodrim Javelins are going to be able to retreat in time anyway. Ooh, but yeah, the Dwarven Catapult doing a really nice amount of damage here to Arcturus' Troll Hunters. And the Dwarven Infantry here actually kind of getting surrounded, a little bit of routing, Ironfoot Miners routing. Oh yeah, you can see these pikemen getting dropped by my Othello Rangers, now down to only 119, a lot of them actually fell right here. Halberd's still holding pretty strongly. Oh yeah, these poor Dunman pikemen just getting absolutely murdered by the body piercing. However, they are flanking around these Ironfoot warriors here, which actually might rout them surprisingly enough. Ooh, yeah, with the advance of some Troll Hunters too, I definitely think these units will probably rout. Looks like the Troll Hunters are actually going over to the crossbows, maybe to try to throw their javelins at them. Not a bad idea, because both the crossbowmen and my own archers are targeting these pikemen. Oh no, they actually must be out of ammo, because they're going to begin fighting in melee. Over here, Belisar, or yeah, he still has a couple units actually. He's got some Ironfoot warriors and some Ironfoot spears. However, he's going to be getting attacked by Isengard very shortly. And I think that was either... Ooh, Dunman Scouts flanking around the dwarves here. Gonna be able to charge into the crossbows. By the way, I think the person who admitted defeat was probably our Northern Guard, but I'm not totally positive about that. So yeah, Archer still has a decent amount of cavalry, but again, because of the fact that we're kind of like all because of the fact that myself and Belisar are kind of camped up here, his cavalry isn't going to do too well. Over here you can see that some unsupported trolls of Louis Hayes 1997 actually tried to go into my Laketown Pikemen and Barding Herd. Barding Herd being AP halberds, you can see, are doing very well against the trolls. Already a lot of these trolls have fallen and are continuously falling. And even if they were able to break through the line a little bit, we definitely have the units, at least now, to deal with that. This unit of Barding Herd, which is my general's unit, is all out of ammo. I think I still maybe have one more unit that's down like 50 men of Barding Marksmen. That might still have ammo left. I think I called these guys Barding Herd, but they're Barding Marksmen. Oh yeah, over here, these poor Ironfoot crossbows getting surrounded on all sides by some Dunman scouts. Ooh, another unit of crossbows over here actually. And over here the spears and Ironfoot warriors getting surrounded by a huge portion of Savage Paradox's remaining forces. Ooh, now it's been 22% looks like. So going back in favor again of the evil forces. Very, very interesting fight so far, definitely. Ironfoot halberds, oh, looks like they were going out to try to silence these Forodrim javelins, but being caught out like this, they're actually thinking about routing. They are now going to be getting flanked by the remnants of some Dunman Pikemen, some Black Wolves, and some Edmore's Troll Hunters, who are getting shot by my Othello Rangers currently. You can see they're just going through multiple of, going through a lot of them at one time. Yeah, so all these trolls are dead now. But he still does have a number of maybe standard Gundabad trolls. Oh, he actually does have one normal troll of Angmar left. He retreated him. But over here you can see Savage Paradox going to be doing a very smart move here. Going to put his only remaining skirmishing unit of our characters up here on this cliff. And this was something I was very worried about, but unfortunately there was nothing I could really do about it. He is going to put them right up here on this ledge and begin pelting my Laketown Pikemen and Barding Herd with arrows. You can see that he actually has... He kind of split his forces. He's got kind of his lower tier stuff over here to attack myself, while he's got the rest of his stuff attacking Belisar. And I think Gundabad might be supporting him attacking me. At least they will be doing so shortly. Yes, you can see a lot of the Guardians of Carndum going to support Savage Paradox pretty shortly here. But over here, Belisar's forces getting surrounded and being heavily outnumbered are going to rout. Savage Paradox just rushing forward still with his very healthy portion of troops. And like I said before, the Urkai infantry are by no means kind of standard, I guess you could say, orc infantry. They are very good. I think they've got like 9 attack or something, which is very high for most normal sword and shield infantry units. Ooh, a lot of arrows going into this blob here, though. You can see my Athal Rangers coming over here on the hill now, going to begin pelting these Urkai with arrows. Dwarven crossbowmen actually routing there. But over here, the Ironfoot crossbowmen are doing a very good job against the Gunmen scouts, surprisingly. And elsewhere, we are swordsmen fighting 52 Ironfoot warriors, and Ironfoot halberds trying to deal with the last of these Gunmen pikes. The Reforged javelins might be around here somewhere. No, they're probably just hiding again. Got my Girian's paladins. I have my own Barding herd backing up some Ironfoot halberds. There's a lot of AP there. And over here, I've got my Pikemen and Barding herd as well. The Dwarves don't have a ton of units left, honestly. They've still got some elites like the Highborns of Erebor, and they still have some crossbows, as well as like these two units out here and his Ironfoot halberds. But besides that, that's pretty much all he has. I still have a pretty good portion of my forces left. I've got some archers without ammo, some few archers with ammo, some Earls of Esgaroth, some Girian's paladins, and some Barding marksmen as well as pikemen and halberds. So, gonna be a very close fight, definitely. And it has been a close fight so far, anyway. Well, I don't know if I could call it close so far. It is getting closer. You can see it's actually within 15%. No. No, it is not. So far, it is really not very close. The evil faction's actually at 25% now, but the Dwarven Catapult still has a decent amount of ammo left, and in a choke point like this, they should do pretty well. See, it looks like they're trying to target these Urkai forces. And at the same time, Savage Paradox is going to try to retreat his forces out of the sight of my Athal Rangers, which is of course very smart. Unfortunately, I think that the Urkai archers right here were pretty low on ammo, so he's actually going to be waiting at least a while before he begins pelting my pikemen here. And you can see that he's actually moving forward with some of his lower tier infantry as well, some Dununding veterans and a couple of Urkai raiders, or at least the remnants of that unit, of those units. I think I can go ahead and put it up a little bit in terms of speed, just for a short period of time, at least until the rest of the attackers get into a nice position that they think is would be optimal for attacking. My Athal Rangers again on a very nice hill here, going to do a huge amount of damage. Now firing into the Urkai infantry, looks like. There's still a few Dunmen scouts, but most of Rudauer has been defeated, except for it looks like those Forgrim javelins, and I think he still has his general's cavalry unit, the Herenidine nobles, somewhere around here. But yeah, if you're wondering why my Athal Rangers have been able to fire so long, it is because of the fact that there's only 42 and 21 or whatever of them left, because, you know, they don't have as many arrows to share. Yeah, he actually was firing now at my pikemen, so I decided to bring forward a unit of Earls of Esgaroth just to give a little bit of armored support to my pikemen. I'm actually going to retreat them out of the sight of the Urkai archers, who are actually shaken, surprisingly. And my Earls of Esgaroth will be able to withstand the arrow fire much better than my other units. Well, much better than those pikemen, at least. Yeah, I actually do have to conserve my ammo now just because of how many orcs there are left. I do... Oh, did not mean to do that. I am definitely going to try to conserve my ammo. But over here, you can see that the first wave kind of Isengard is advancing against the Ironfoot halberds. Urkai infantry is not going to do great against halberds, but the pikemen should do pretty well. And if the trolls try to just push straight through, then it is going to be very difficult for us to try to stop. And over here, you can see that Isengard is pushing forward. So I've brought forward my, well, I've once again brought forward my Barding herd and pikemen, as well as my Earls of Esgaroth here. going to hold the line. I've also got my Girians Paladins here. I'm not going to commit them, but I am going to put them right here in this kind of gap because I don't want any cavalry or any units to try to sneak through, because that would be very, very devastating if they were allowed to just kind of recharge all of us. But again, because Isengard and Gundabad don't have many pushing units, it's going to really just be a really grindy type of battle here, because I do have a good amount of pikes and halberds left. So it's going to be very close. Oh, and back here you can see that a lot of Gundabad's forces have arrived. Some Witcher-Helm Scourge Raiders, and some Gundabad Guard. I always want to call these guys Gundabad Guard, but they're Guardians of Khardoum, and I don't know why I want to call them Gundabad Guard, but I do. I'll put it back. I'll slow it down just a little bit, because it helps the lag. Ooh. So yeah, you can see Isengard is trying to push through, but just because of how many units I have here, and because they're all, well, most of them are pikes, they're going to be able to hold it for a very long time. You can see the Dwarven Catapult trying to get into a good position to fire at this huge wall of forces. I've also got my Athal Rangers just waiting to fire. And over here, you can see the Ironfoot Halberds and my own Barding Herd have been committed, as well as Belisar's general unit of the Highborns of Erebor. We got our swordsmen there. And some more Isengard infantry coming forward as well. Now this kind of is a slow point in the battle, because it is just basically going to be a battle of 2 choke points. At least for a while. But again, there's not really much I can do about that. Earls of Esgaroth, unfortunately, they were kind of pushing away from the pikes, which is going to result in a lot of their deaths. But they should do a pretty good amount of damage, especially against the kind of lower tier stuff like the Domain Veterans and Urkai Raiders. Actually, since it is pretty wind, I'll just put it back up to 9 speed. Anyway, one of the Trolls of Gundabad actually getting over here to the Catapult crew, and a lot more of Isengard's forces are also being pushed forward, because you can see his front line is starting to drop pretty quickly, especially because of those Highborns of Erebor really doing a nice job of supporting the line. I still have 50 Girians Paladins left over, so they're going to be very, very difficult for the attackers to deal with, especially because they're going to be in this very nice choke point. Yeah, you can see Gundabad and Isengard really blocking up here, but again, there's really not much they can do. I think this is definitely where they were wishing that they had probably brought Blackwatch Legion, because the Blackwatch Legion would do very good at pushing through the lines. Oh, but over here, you can see that the Dunmen Scouts are actually kind of going around the corner here. I'm trying to stop them with my Bardian Marksmen, but the Dunmen Scouts are going to try to just kind of avoid that and then go straight into this Catapult crew. However, my Girians Paladins are there to stop them. However, because I had retreated my Girians Paladins, there are troops going through this gap. But no, I take it back. Those are routing units. I was very confused there. Scouts are actually routing, by the way, now. Yeah, what the... They need to push through this gap here. Okay, it looks like that is what Louis is going to be trying to do here. However, because I didn't notice this now, I am going to be able to try to stop those Guardians of Khardoum with my Girians Paladins. And the Girians Paladins will do very, very good against the Guardians of Khardoum, just because the Girians Paladins are AP. And my... Ooh, yeah, you can see the body piercing going straight into this blob of forces here. And you can see a ton of the lower tier stuff is being brought forward as well. A ton of these Sonata archers. However, I believe all of the low tier archers of the evil forces are out of ammo. So they're basically just going to be there to try to give a little bit of support to their allies. You can see this line is kind of starting to get a little bit thin for both the good factions and the evil factions. However, with the constant fire of my body piercing rangers, a huge portion of these forces are going to actually rout. And I actually tried to commit another unit. Well, I actually did commit my unit of Bardian Marksmen here, just because they were still trying to push through my... just because these attackers were trying to push through my Girians Paladins. And we're doing a very good job of it. However, you can see that most of Isengard's forces have actually routed or been defeated, so now it's going to be up to Gundabad to try to deal with this choke point here. With a little bit of support from Isengard, it looks like. Oh, some more units, though, of both Gundabad and Isengard being brought over here. He's got a lot of Scourge Raiders and a lot of Guardians of Khardoum. And my Earls of Esgaroth, again, apparently don't want to be given any support from the pikes or halberds, because they're just trying to push forward here against these Guardians of Kundun. That is something that kind of happens a lot, unfortunately. I don't really know why. I think it's just kind of something that happens. Even when you put swordsmen or infantry, like standard sword and shield infantry like this in guard mode, they actually will still push forward if they are attacked. Over here, this fight is definitely going back in favor of us, but this portion of the gap is still open, so any cavalry would be able to sneak through here and possibly silence my Othello Rangers. A huge portion of these Snaga Stalkers actually had routed for a little bit. I think that was just because they are, of course, a very low tier unit with low tier morale. Ooh, over here, Reforged Javelins going to exploit, looks like, or attempt to exploit this gap in our line here. I'm going to try to push through. I don't know where, but I would be willing to bet either at the Othello Rangers or at this Dwarven Catapult crew. And some more of Savage Paradox's forces pushing forward. Seems like they have an endless supply of orcs. Ooh, yeah, we're still losing very heavily in the percentage fight. But yes, the Reforged Javelins actually looks like they're going to try to outflank these units here, which is a very good idea. Something that I definitely think he should do. Especially because the Reforged Javelins are actually AP in melee. They're a very, very good unit and very effective at taking out heavily armored units like all the stuff that we currently have here. Oof, yeah, a huge amount of forces being pushed forward now. I don't think... Yeah, so I actually am going to be pushing forward some Dalian marksmen to try to silence these Reforged Javelins, but the Reforged Javelins saw that and realizing that they would probably get defeated, are going to try to take out this Dwarven Catapult crew charging straight in, so now I am going to be trying to sandwiching these Reforged Javelins with my Dalian marksmen and my Bardian marksmen, which will allow our front line to kind of regain its strength. Apologies for that. Ooh, but over here actually, looks like, oh, I was gonna say Gundabad looked like they were kind of doing a nice job pushing, but they actually, it's because they haven't even really begun the fight again against my pikemen or halberds. Looks like they're mostly just kind of pushing through my Earls of Esgaroth. Ooh, and right here on this very narrow point, my Gurian's Paladins is absolutely butchering the Gundabad forces here. Percent starting to get a little bit closer, getting a little bit closer to the favor of the good factions. However, it's still going to be a very, very close fight, I think. Because, honestly, I think it's going to be close only because of the fact that all of the evil factions don't have any pushing power. If they'd maybe brought some more units that could push, or maybe save their trolls, then I think they probably would have been able to win, or would be able to win very easily. But now, I don't know, it's going to be very, very close. Ooh, but right here you can see my Earls really starting to struggle just to the amount of Gundabad forces here that are here. Gurian's Paladins now down to 49. And I am going to be targeting this big blob here with my Othello Rangers now. However, this unit of 42 Othello Rangers is now out of ammo. The only unit of Othello Rangers that has ammo are these 21 Othello Rangers. And because they were skirmished down very quickly in the game, they still do have a decent amount of ammo left over. And even though they're only 21, because of the body piercing, they still will be able to do a pretty good amount of damage. And over here you can see that the last of the Reforged Javelins are being taken out. However, look right here, the Herendine Nobles sneaking through that gap once again, despite the fact that my Dalian marksmen were here. My biggest issue with this was I wanted to protect my Othello Rangers, who you can see are actually getting attacked right now. And left to themselves, the Othello Rangers would get wiped out pretty quickly by the Herendine Nobles, who are actually thinking about routing. However, one actually went down here. So I am going to try to push forward a lot of units here to stop those Herendine Nobles from wreaking havoc in our backlines, because not only would they be able to take out the last of my archers, they'd also be able to take out the catapult crew and then proceed to cycle charging the back of our lines here. So it's looking very, very grim here for the good factions. Oh, however, it's going to be very tricky for Arturus to be able to sneak around the lines here. However, he is going to be able to do it, and he's going to maybe rear charge the... Oh, I thought he was going to go after the catapult, but he's instead going to go after my pikes, who are going to turn around, unfortunately, for the Herendine Nobles. and being completely surrounded like this, they may find themselves cut down very shortly. Nope, they actually only lost a few, and are able to once again go around. Some fire arrows now being shot by the general's unit of Lu. Only 909 nobles left. My rangers. Uh-oh. Ooh. Taking a pretty good charge there, but actually looks like none of them died. Nope, one did at least. 2, 3, 4. Oh no, this is not good. Because my fellow rangers are like the only skirmishing unit that we have left, and they're going to be very important because even though there's only 17 left, every little arrow, especially body piercing arrows, will do a great amount of damage to not only the actual troops but also to the morale. You can see a lot of these units are actually shaking. Ooh, Herenidai nobles now going into the catapult crew, it looks like. And everywhere they go, they're getting chased by my Bardian marksmen and Dalian marksmen. 7 left. Oh, and there goes the general. So that unit may in fact rout. They're shaken. They're shaken. Oh, and there they go. They did in fact rout. Fellow Rangers at 17 now. I actually thought that they had not routed, so I was trying to run my archers away, but then I did notice that. They will pretty shortly continue their fire on these Gundabad forces who have significantly been reduced. My Bardian herd actually kind of pushing out here, making a nice little bubble. However, they're going to be getting surrounded, obviously, and going to take a lot more losses doing this than had they just been normally holding on here like in the pikemen. Girian's Paladin's still at 46, just doing work against these heavily armored Gundabad forces. So I believe all of Arturus' forces have been defeated now. And the percentage still getting a little bit closer. You can see the good factions are now down to only 10% of their remaining forces, and the evil factions still actually have 25%. So it's going to be very close. You can see the Ward Riders now actually want to try to push through. However, I believe all of my units here do have a bonus against cavalry, except for maybe Earls. I think Paladins might have a bonus against cavalry, although I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, it's actually getting pretty thin right here, unfortunately, because of the fact that my Bardian herd pushed forward. But unfortunately for me, I will not be able to retreat them, because if I were to do that, then they would take even more. Losses than previously. Well, they take even more losses than they would just staying here. And being backed up by something like the Girian's Paladins, they still should do pretty good. They are down to only 53 now. I am going to commit my Bardian marksman here. As you can see, there are still a lot of elite forces there, and a ton of Snaga still. However, pretty much everything here will be able to beat these Snaga. But you can see that most of the dwarves have fallen. There's only 43 halberds and what are they? I'm trying to look at the. Yeah, there's only 36 highborns. So mostly it's just my forces defending these chokes. Ooh, looks like a couple of the wargs are actually able to sneak out. Gonna try to charge them down with my Bardian marksman. They're going to go straight into the wargs, which is again not going to be a very smart, or they're going to go again straight into the pikes, which is not going to be a very smart idea for them. And they're going to keep taking out as long as my pikes are able to turn around, which it looks like they are going to do right now, as the warg riders are actually shaken. So yeah, I actually did also commit my Bardian marksman here because it was looking a little bit thin. Over here though, my Leichten pikemen are still holding pretty strong. Earls of Esgaroth are down to 20 men remaining. Oh, but a big rout here, a huge rout here. Looks like this may, in fact, be the end of the Isengard and Gundabad forces here. There's only 88, which are almost up, and they routed. So just like that, my forces here were able to hold. I think it was really down to the fact that I just had so many pikemen, and that my Girian's Paladins were just so elite. And because of the fact that my Athal Rangers were constantly firing with their BP arrows. Over here, though, it looks like it still promises to be a pretty grindy fight. But just because of that route, I will be able to pull back a ton of my forces back here to help out this line even more. because even if the evil factions wanted to reapply the pressure here, they would be spread very thin, and they probably wouldn't be able to get units back here in time to really be of any good help. But oh my gosh, there's still so many Snaga! So many Snaga. We'll see if the Snaga are able to win it out for them, because they also still have a good amount of pikemen. However, my Athal Rangers will now be turning their attention to this blob instead of the other blob, because that has been defeated. However, just like that, you can see because of the route, the percentages have just gotten way closer. Just a little bit ago, it was 90 to 75%. Now it's all the way back to, or now it's been brought back to 91 to 84. So just like that, getting very close. And I did want to press my advantage here. I did not want any of these units to return to the fight, especially because the Gundabad General is still alive. So I am going to be running down these units with anything that I can. You can actually see that these 82 Guardians of Karndun have actually already returned to the fight. However, I think he did in fact lose micro on them. So it looks like some Athal Rangers and some Bardian Marksmen.
Like the coward, our men have captured the enemy general.
There goes Isengard's general,
so he can
and that might have actually. No. So looks like it's going to pretty much be down to. I actually don't know who that was in Navy. Oh, it was probably Arcturus. That's who it was. Yeah, because Gundabad and Isengard still fighting. However, Isengard losing their general, going to maybe rout here. And all the Gundabad has left is a ton of Snog, it looks like. However, really, we do not have a ton left. You can see the lines here getting very thin. Over here, though, I still have some pikemen and my 30 Nigerians paladins as well as my Bardian herd. And over here, you can see my Athal Rangers and Bardian Marksmen going to try to cut down the last of these Guardians of Karndun. Ooh, yeah, looking a little thin here, but again, because of the fact that it's mostly Snaga, it's gonna be very close. It's gonna be very close. I mean, obviously, the percentages will say it's gonna be close. Oh, but see, because they're now down to only Snaga, the percentages of enemies killed, or evil faction killed, I guess you could say, is just going higher and higher, super quickly, because of how low tier these units are, and now that my Athal Rangers are fighting at very lightly armored units, they're going to rack up even more kills. 87-92. Ooh, it's getting really close. It's getting really close. You can see the attackers. Well, technically, they're not attackers, but they kind of are in this instance. Are kind of flanking around these. Are kind of flanking around this side here. So I have committed my Gurian's paladins there. Over here, though, it's actually looking a little grim as well for us. My Bardian Marksman trying to hold the line there. I've still got 68 Dalian Marksmen. Oh, yeah, those poor Snaga just getting dropped by the body piercing. Pikemen have been fighting there for a very long time as well. And I've still got 19 Earls of Esgaroth, surprisingly enough, but those are the last of my Earls. Over here, the Guardians of Karndun, now that they're in a little bit of a more like spread out formation, they will be able to hold for a lot longer against my Bardian Marksman. Possibly even kill my general, which could lead to a lot of routing from my forces. But it looks like a lot of routing from Louis is also happening.
Like the coward he is.
Okay, yeah, so Louis did in fact go ahead and admit defeat because he did not think he would be able to defeat us with his remaining forces, which I think is understandable. But look how close this battle was, 93 to 90%, within 3%, and this was an insanely fun battle to play. Big thank you to all of the players involved, and I would highly recommend playing this map. It leads to some very fun situations. I was hoping to have a big battle out here in the field with Arcturus, but unfortunately that did not happen. However, it still was a very fun battle.
It would have been us slain and defeated on the field, but fortune has been kind, handed us victory.
Definitely could have been us slain upon the field. It was 90 to 93%, so I was able to get nearly 4,000 kills with 500 prisoners. Belisar getting the next most kills, and our Northern Guard surprisingly only getting a few less kills than Belisar, despite being double teamed and defeated very early on. Looks like Arcturus definitely doing the best for his team. He took out a ton of my forces right early on. Bardian Marksmen doing okay. Again, they're not really meant to get a lot of kills. They're more just there to kind of with weather arrows and just kind of outlast the enemy. But my Athala Rangers, 640 and 1,028 kills. Dalian Marksmen didn't do bad either. Barding Herd both did good. Earls all did good. Laketown River Patrol actually getting 216 kills. My poor Dalian Cavalry only getting 4 kills. And my pike, one unit of pikes did pretty good. The other two did not do very well at all. And the Girians Paladins also doing very good, getting 451 kills. My Ballista only got 2 kills. But anyway, so that was a very fun battle. Again, a big thank you to all of the players involved. If you guys did enjoy, please comment, like, and subscribe. If you did not, just go ahead and tell me what I did wrong, and I will be sure to fix it for the next video. So farewell wherever you fare, till your eyes receive you at your journey's end.